So hello, my name is Matthew Batinsky. I'm the CEO at Parchment. It's a pleasure to be here. I've got about 5 minutes to give you a quick introduction and overview to the company. So Parchment is based on a very simple mission, but one that we think can be really impactful, which is to help learners turn their credentials into opportunities. So when we talk about credentials, we mean things like your transcripts, your certificates, your diplomas, your digital badges in the professional context, certifications and licenses. These are really valuable records. These are the currency through which you turn your education into employment or into admissions. They matter to us throughout our life course. Increasingly, we accumulate many different kinds of credentials throughout our life course. And they are how a lot of different organizations do everything from discover talent based on your credentials and what your certifications are and your level of achievement, to something as simple as the way transcripts are used in credit transfer, which is how we kind of articulate learning and figure out when someone moves from one institution to another, the way in which they're going to ultimately progress towards their degree. So we think credentials matter a lot, and there are many ways in which credentials can be improved. Like many parts of education, credentials have existed in this kind of analog world. They're paper-based, and so they're very inefficient. The data are trapped, and it becomes very difficult for students who do want to apply to college, transfer, in many different ways, put those credentials to work. This is one simple kind of graph of all of the ways in which our members see their transcripts, for example, get used. In blue, you see enrollment pathways. In brown, you see employment pathways. And this is really a big part of the power of what we're trying to build at Parchment, which is not just a technology platform to bring credentials online, but a network that brings the pathways through which credentials are turned into opportunities online as well. So we have a very large network, and I'll give you some statistics in a moment, of K-12 organizations that use Parchment to take and fulfill electronic requests for academic records, transcripts, verifications, things of that nature. We've got a scaled network of universities that work with us to receive and collect and process those credentials in the inbound way and then on the outbound way. We have a growing number of employers, licensing boards, foundations, scholarship organizations who use Parchment to collect and process credentials for their purposes. And as you might imagine, this is true not just in the US, but there's an international context as students transfer or study abroad, and also come into the US for their education. So I mentioned this kind of digital evolution that credentials are going through. There's a little bit of an eye chart, but it gives you a flavor of some of those ways in which credentials need to change. As simple as having to wait in line at the registrar's office to request your records, now you want to be able to order it online. As simple as, the old format being an envelope inside an envelope inside an envelope. That's not the most secure way in which you can deliver an electronic record. Also, credentials are increasingly pretty opaque when you think about it. Kevin Carey has a great line that a diploma tells you less than a prisoner of war can share under the Geneva Convention, name, rank, and serial number. An academic transcript just tells you the courses you've taken. I thought that was funnier when I was thinking to share it. The credits that you've earned. So we can make credentials a lot more meaningful. This is an example of that. When you move credentials to digital, you can not just sort of film the play, so to speak, not just make a PDF of the traditional transcript, but you can really think about new ways in which the credential can communicate information. On the far left, as you look at it, for example, embedding hyperlinks. So you click on a course ID, you can see the course description. We have institutions, you click on the grade, you see the grade distribution for the course. In the middle, that's Elon University's visual transcript, which captures co-curricular information like study abroad and student leadership, but in a visual way because they found that that's what employers want to be able to make quick sense of in the context of an interview. Or a Parchment digital diploma being shared on LinkedIn, which then acts as a way of providing degree verification for that individual. We're also seeing institutions increasingly beginning to customize and contextualize credentials, to personalize them. So if I'm sending an academic transcript to Google, I want that to look a little bit differently, perhaps, than when I'm sending it to a graduate admissions program. Google may not need all of my courses. They may just want to be focused on those that are relevant to the job that I'm applying for. So we're beginning to see institutions not just bring multiple credentials online, but then create flavors of them depending on that pathway and depending on that ultimate destination. So Parchment provides a platform. It's a platform that brings all of these credentials online from a digital perspective, and it's a platform that enables issuers of credentials as well as receivers, the destinations of credentials, to work well together to allow for the exchange of these records to happen in a much more efficient way. We've got a suite of services, which you can learn more about online, and we have a great network. We're now in a very large number of high schools, over 5,300 high schools, and a large number of districts and state education agencies use Parchment, and as well as higher education institutions. Over 1,000 universities work with us, an increasingly number of employer and licensing board and other kinds of organizations. So I'll close out with some final stats that give you an overall sense of the organization, but my time has run out. Happy to answer questions afterwards, and thanks for learning a little bit about Parchment.